everyone. Welcome to an academy once again. This is Deepak ME Structural Engineering AMI, a verified educator from an academy. So in this course, we have been seeing a lot of tests based on the workability of concrete. In today's lesson, we are going to see some of the important points based on those tests on workability. Alright? But before that, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Academy. Also follow us on the app and the website of the Academy. So let's see those points, what they are. Hello everyone, good to see you. Hope you're having a great day. So in this test, we have been seeing a lot of tests that need to be performed on the fresh concrete. Alright? And talking about the fresh concrete, workability is one of the most important factors. And so hence the workability test are one of the most important tests. Those need to be performed on the fresh concrete. Alright. So today we are going to see some of the important points about those workability tests. Okay. So these are some of the general points that you must need to know about the workability test. This will help you in the Viva examinations. Sometimes they may throw these questions or based on these aspects so that you can tackle them. Okay, satisfactorily. I hope this lesson will be helpful for you. So let's start. So first and foremost, let's see what workability is all about. Once again, we must look into definitions. So based on ASTM-C 12593, we have a definition for workability right here. The property determining the effort required to manipulate a freshly mixed quantity of concrete with minimum loss of homogeneity. Difficult? Let's see the second one. Based on the ACI 116R90 or the ACI 1990. The property of freshly mixed concrete, which determines the ease and homogeneity with which it can be mixed, placed, consolidated, and finished. Okay, so in plain simple words, workability can be defined as it's a property of fresh concrete, okay, which shows or which displays the easiness with which the concrete can be transported, placed, compacted. Okay, so that's in simple sense we can say that the easiness to work with. That's the workability of the concrete. But workability itself is a very complex term when we try to explain it. All right. But before that, we must know why workability is so important. So based on page number 17, IS 456-2000, there's a quote that the concrete mix proportion should be chosen such that the concrete is of adequate workability for the placing conditions of the concrete and can be properly be compacted with means available. Okay. This quote alone from a recognized institution like Indian Standard 456-2000, I mean the code book, we can understand that the workability has such a big important impact on the fresh concrete or in the state of concrete known as the plastic state of concrete. All right. So this says that one must choose and proportion the mix, okay, based on the workability with which it can be done, and also based on the placing conditions of the concrete, and also how properly it can be compacted with the means available, okay, with the methods available on those particular conditions. So we can, from this quote itself, we can understand how important the workability is. So let's see. Now let's move on to some of the basic points or some of the important points of the test as well as the property. All right. So first and foremost, let's see what it is. So first point says that workability is a property which has different aspects. Okay. So let's explain this sentence a little bit. As I said before, workability is a simple property, but it's a complex one while we try to explain it because it has its hands on almost all the entire other properties of the fresh concrete. All right. Some of the important properties are the consistency, the compactability, the placeability, the cohesiveness, the proneness to segregation, mobility. So it goes like that. Okay. So workability has the impact on almost all these important properties that I've said before, but each of these properties have its own individualities. Okay. So we cannot distinguish workability from this because if you look from one aspect, workability is mobility. From another aspect, workability is placeability, but placeability has its own meaning. Mobility has its own meaning, but coming with workability, it's all are linked. So it's very difficult actually to explain workability if we go into deep. All right. So hence workability which is a property which has almost different aspects to it. All right. So what happened here is that all these tests, okay, important tests like slump cone, compaction factor, flow test, VB, such tests. So each of the workability tests measures only a particular aspect of the workability. Okay. So which means that there is still no test that measures the workability as a whole. Okay, that is the workability in its full potential. Still, there is no test in Indian standards that it measures the workability like a full test, okay, like a full property, okay. Why I said is that because first and foremost, let's start with the slum cone test itself, okay. So slum test is a test that is universally accepted for the workability as a workability test, all right. It's very easy to do, and it's an institute test can be done. It can be also done in the lab. So this slum cone test measures the workability, but majorly this measures the consistency of the cement or the concrete, all right, and also it gives a good amount of idea about the water content of the cement, okay, or I mean the concrete, water content of the concrete, and also the proportioning of the concrete, all right. So not the entire workability, but consistency, the proportions, and also the water content. Now we're coming to the compaction factor. Compaction factor is claimed that is more accurate than slum cone test, but compaction factor is based on the property or based on a theory called as the internal compaction and also placeability. Okay, I've explained the internal compaction in my compaction factor lesson. Okay, please do check that. It is explained there in detail. Okay, now the other test known as the flow test. Okay. So flow test checks the quality of the concrete based on consistency, cohesiveness, and proneness to segregation. Okay, and if coming to VB test is based on the mobility and the consistency and the compactability of the concrete. So see, all this test measures the workability only, but from different aspects. Okay, once again, slum test is based on the consistency as well as the mixed proportions as well as the water content. Compaction factor is based on internal compaction and the placeability. The flow test checks the quality of the concrete with respect to consistency, cohesiveness, and proneness to segregation. The VB is based on the mobility, compactability, and the consistency of the concrete. So, as I mentioned before, look at this. All these tests measure the workability only, but in different aspects. So there is no single test to measure all the aspects of the workability. That means workability as a full thing, like a full potential workability, full potential property, I mean. Okay, and that's one thing. And the other one is that, so how can we perform this test? So it is recommended that for a given concrete, the appropriate test to be used rather than correlating with others. So that which means that, so if you are taking a concrete, all right, or mass of concrete for a particular situation or a particular design, so appropriate test has to be chosen from the workability test rather than correlating with others. Okay, because the results cannot be correlated too much with other results, but it can be done. But it's better that you choose the test based on your need and based on all the design and the site conditions, so that it is the best to choose one test, right? Or you can choose the other one to have a small cross-checking. Okay, so that's it. It is recommended that for a given concrete, the appropriate test should be used rather than the correlating with others. Okay, we should not mix up all the things. Okay, choose the appropriate test. That's it. That's what it said here. Now, some of the suggested values of workability of fresh concrete in different placing conditions. Let's see what it is. So it's a tabulation. I hope it's legible. So here we have the placing condition. We have the degree of workability, we have the value of workability, compaction factor, we have maximum size of aggregates right here. The VB times slump for 20 mm aggregates is also given right here. Okay, as you can see, we have hand compaction for heavily reinforced sections, confrontation for lightly reinforced section, concreting lightly reinforced section, concrete for shallow sections, concrete by intensive variations with vibration presence and intercentrifugations. So all these things are given here. Please go through this entire tabulation. You can understand what it is. It's just simple only. It also shows how the degree of workability is. Here we have high degree of workability, we have medium, we have here low, we have very low and extremely low degree of workability. And here we have the compaction factor for different sizes of aggregates. We have 10 mm, 20 mm, and 40 mm. So all the sizes are given right here. And for the VB time as well as the VB slump is also given for the entire sections. Okay, please go through that. You can understand it. It's a very simple one. It's from a textbook only. Now let's see some of the drawbacks. Okay, some of the drawbacks of this test. Right. So as I mentioned before, the test doesn't give as a whole. So let's see what are some of the other drawbacks of the test. So first and foremost, these tests, okay, these are arbitrary and empirical, or based on the measurement of the workability. All right, what does that mean? Because what it says that each of these tests is a single point test. That is, which at times it fails to classify two concretes which are identical, which actually may have behave quite differently sometimes, but if you take two different quantities of the concrete, okay, two different quantities of the concrete, and you use the test, so this test may fail to differentiate them, okay. In real life, these concrete may differ and it may behave differently. So these tests are arbitrary and empirical based on the measurement of workability. Okay, these are pure mathematical kind of test. Okay, it doesn't differentiate anything. Now they are operative sensitive. Oh, this is one of the most important points. Okay, so these tests are based on whom it is operating with or whom it is performing. All right, if a person doesn't know much about the concrete and he's just a man who follows the instruction, you may get a very different result. And if a person who knows about the concrete and who knows about all the workability and all the other technical aspects and who perform this test, the values will be quite different. So these tests are operative sensitive. Okay, so also none of these tests are capable for dealing with concrete with large range of workabilities. Okay, so you can see that what does that mean? Let's see what does that mean. Sometimes even the same set of concrete may have a different kind of workability because of the climatic conditions and also the person who's using it. And also sometimes if the workability of the concrete is very high and sometimes if it is very low, this test fails, for differentiating. Okay, once again, it fails differentiating between different ranges of workability. All right, that means it can give only an indication. It cannot give that this range is this range is that in a very pinpoint manner. Okay, so these are some of the small drawbacks, but still these are some of the important tests in the industry right now. They play a vital role in it because all these are put forward only after by going through hundreds of trials and errors method. Okay, so that's why it is universally accepted in almost all the countries in the world. Please don't please, because of these drawbacks, please don't say that these tests are incapable. These are highly legible and highly acceptable tests globally. Okay, now let's see some of the test methods appropriate for concretes of various workabilities. That means, I said before, you choose the test based on the concrete and also based on the design and based on the site conditions. All right, so let's see what they are. So for workability is right here, we have method. So for very low workability, a VB test is really good. For low workability, VB compaction factor will give you a really good results. For medium workability, we have compaction factor, or you can go for the slump cone test. For high workability, you can go for compaction factor, slump cone, or flow test. For very high workability, the flow test is the good one. Okay, so I hope you understand today's lesson. It's a bit different track from what we are used to learn. So I hope it's helpful for you. All right. So thank you once again for tuning in. Please comment your suggestions. Please rate my presentation and please recommend and share the slides. And this is the link to my profile to the Academy app. You can see other works that I've done there, and some of the basic tests for the coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, cement, etc. are explained there in the simplest way possible. So thank you once again. I wish you a great day. Ciao. See you next time.